The Karth Dominion arrived without warning. Their warships tore open the night sky above Vega 9, humanity's farthest colony, and unleashed fire. Cities dissolved under plasma bombardments, oceans boiled where their beam cannons struck. The Karth fleet's commander, Lord Strategos Valrix, watched the massacre unfold from his obsidian throne aboard the dreadnought Exaltra. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even triumphant. He was bored. Primitive bipeds, he murmured, talons clicking against the console. They build nests far from their homeworld, yet cannot defend them. They spread like spores but die like flies, the comms officer hissed in laughter. Should we broadcast their final distress signals, Strategos? Let their home hear them burn? Valrix smirked. Yes. Let them see what happens when they trespass into Dominion territory. Let Earth understand her place. The Karth transmitted the human distress call. A woman's voice, broken and terrified, screaming through static, across every relay between Vega 9 and Sol. They amplified it until it echoed through the trade networks and military bands. Every civilization within 200 light-years heard it. This is Vega 9 command. We are under attack! Civilian sectors hit. Children, oh God. Then silence. A silence the Karth mistook for victory. The mockery of Earth when the fires cooled, Valrix ordered his fleet to remain in orbit. The colony's ashes served as a message, not just to humanity, but to every species watching the rise of the newcomers from Sol. For years, the Karth Dominion had been uneasy. Humanity's expansion was rapid, almost defiant. They colonized barren worlds and made them bloom. They outtraded, outbuilt, and outthought their rivals. They were dangerous not for their weapons, but for their persistence. So the Dominion struck early, to remind them of their limits. Across the galactic networks, propaganda bloomed. The Earthborn are soft, their fleets are relics, their spirit is broken. They hide behind diplomacy and treaties. In the Dominion's war courts, generals toasted the cleansing of Vega 9. On their homeworld, children were shown images of burning human cities, proof that the weak species from Sol could bleed. They expected outrage from Earth, a declaration, threats, perhaps even a small counterattack, but nothing came. Weeks passed. Then months. Earth was quiet, and the galaxy took that silence for surrender. The stillness before Fire Lord Strategos Valrix grew restless. His fleet had moved to the border systems, seizing human trade routes, enslaving refugees, and dismantling orbital stations for resources. He sent envoys to the Galactic Council, declaring Earth's colonies forfeited under the right of superior force. The Council did not intervene. The humans had no allies worth mentioning, and no fleet capable of challenging the Dominion's power. Then, one night during a celebration of conquest, a transmission slipped through Dominion channels, untraceable, unauthenticated, human. It played for exactly 12 seconds before self-erasing to the Dominion of Karth. You believe us defeated. You mistake our silence for weakness. You will learn the meaning of walls. The Dominion's cyber defense teams tore apart their systems searching for the source. None was found. The transmission hadn't come from a ship, or a station, or a relay. It had come from the void itself. And then, all human networks went dark. Every satellite, every beacon, every known colony in human space vanished from communication grids. Not a word, not a signal, not a trace of movement. The Karth analysts laughed. They hide, they said. They cower behind their sun. They were wrong. They weren't hiding. They were preparing. The first sign of retaliation on the 100th day after Vega 9's fall, a Karth patrol fleet disappeared near the Sol frontier. 23 ships, gone. No debris, no distress signals. The Dominion sent another force, 80 ships this time, under the command of Admiral Karthven. He was confident. His ships were shielded, armed, and scanning for ambushes. They found nothing. Then, without warning, their comms flooded with a human voice. Calm, steady, mechanical. Unauthorized warships detected in Sol exclusion zone. Turn back. This is your first and only warning. The Karth Admiral snarled. Identify yourself. We are Earth Defense Command. Then, the stars blinked. Karthven looked out his viewport, and his blood froze. Dozens of ships emerged from the blackness, but they weren't visible through standard optical sensors. They shimmered like shadows made solid, stealth hulls, completely silent, untraceable until they fired. And when they fired, the void turned white. The Karth fleet didn't even have time to scream. When Dominion scouts arrived days later, They found only fragments of hulls, and words burned into a drifting escape pod's plating. Iron Wall Protocol, active. Earth stands. The truth was simple. Earth had never been defenseless. For centuries, humanity had built in secret, not out of paranoia, but foresight. Beneath the moon's surface lay buried shipyards. In the asteroid belts, automated foundries forged dreadnoughts the size of continents. Beneath the crust of Mars, fleets slept, entire armadas sealed under layers of dust and myth. They had hidden their strength because they feared what they could become again. The last Terran wars had nearly wiped out their species. The lesson had been bitter. Strength without restraint is extinction. But now restraint had become a grave. And so Earth awoke her sleeping titans. Orbital docks around Luna flared to life. The Aegis-class dreadnoughts, ships so massive they generated their own magnetic fields, rose like mountains from the void. Mars opened its sealed bunkers, launching carriers older than some stars, and from the command fortress beneath Earth's south pole came a single order. Activate Iron Wall. Every human world, from the inner colonies to the frontier, fell under one command structure. One fleet, one purpose. Revenge. The wall moves. The galaxy's merchants noticed it first. Human space became impassable. Freighters that once navigated. Sol's lanes now reported a horizon of gunmetal, automated stations stretching across light years, defensive grids with no gaps, fleets patrolling borders like clockwork phantoms. The Karth Dominion sent scouts, spies, even disguised traders. None returned. Then suddenly human fleets moved outward, but they didn't just attack, they erased. The first Dominion world to fall was Draxos Prime, a shipyard planet, fortified, surrounded by orbital guns. Human forces arrived in silence. No warnings, no demands, just a cold transmission for Vega 9. The bombardment lasted 7 minutes. When it ended, Draxos Prime was gone. The planet's crust cracked like glass. The system's star dimmed under the shadow of kinetic impacts so vast that its orbit shifted. No one had seen weapons like these before. No one knew how Earth had built them. But in the darkness beyond the wreckage, the human dreadnoughts hovered, immovable, unscarred, silent. The galaxy began to whisper. They weren't weak. They were waiting. The Dominion's desperation. The Karth Dominion threw everything they had, fleet after fleet. Weapons that split moons, biowarforms bred in their laboratories, even black hole missiles, forbidden by the Council. None of it mattered. Every battle was the same. Human ships appeared from nowhere, tore their enemies apart, and vanished before counterfire could even reach them. But what terrified the Dominion most wasn't the technology. It was the silence. Human ships didn't broadcast. They didn't speak. They didn't taunt. They simply acted. And whenever they left survivors, it was deliberate. Those survivors carried messages. Iron remembers. The wall holds. Earth stands. Valrix himself led the final defense at the Dominion's capital system. Over 6,000 warships stood against humanity's advance. The night before battle, he addressed his soldiers. "We face primitives," he said. "Their vengeance is strong, but their resolve will break. Steel shatters under fire." He didn't understand. It wasn't steel that guarded Earth. It was iron, the kind forged in will, not in metal. The fire of retribution. The battle for Karth began at dawn and ended before noon. Human ships arrived in a formation that no Karth strategist could comprehend. Not flanking, not frontal, but dimensional. Their ships slipped through folded space like blades through water, emerging inside defensive perimeters before alarms could even sound. Each dreadnought fired once, just once. Their main cannons, the Ares-class relativistic accelerators, launched tungsten slugs at near light speed. The first shot tore through 5 capital ships and vaporized a moon. The second cracked the Dominion's orbital rings. The third obliterated the capital's defensive shield. The fourth was unnecessary. By then, the Karth fleet was running. Valrix watched from his throne, disbelief turning to horror as his sensors failed one by one. His empire, built on arrogance and blood, dissolved in hours. He ordered a retreat, only to find every exit point blocked. Human ships filled the jump corridors. Their hulls bore no insignia, no names. Only one symbol, projected in cold white light across the void. A wall of iron, then came the final transmission from Earth Command. "This is not conquest. This is correction. You mistook mercy for weakness. You mistook silence for peace. You will not make that mistake again. And then the sky turned to fire. The Dominion's worlds burned, one after another, not in rage but precision. Civilian centers were spared, infrastructure dismantled, war foundries vaporized. Humanity didn't want slaves or trophies. They wanted memory, a memory carved into the stars. Never again. The Ashes and the Whisper Months. Later, the war was over. The Karth Dominion was gone, dissolved into scattered refugees and silent ruins. The Galactic Council called for negotiations, reparations, peace. Earth sent one representative, a woman in a simple gray uniform, bearing no insignia. She stood before the council and spoke one sentence. We did not start this war, but we will finish any that finds us. Then she left. No one dared follow. In the centuries that followed, new empires rose. New alliances formed, but every map of the galaxy had one border unchallenged. A vast sphere around Sol, marked not with a name, but a warning. The Iron Walls. Do not cross. Merchant captains whispered stories of seeing them. Colossal human ships that drifted silently at the edges of known space. Watching. They said the ships' hulls bore the names of lost colonies, Vega 9, Horizon Reach, New Kyoto. They said sometimes, at the very edge of comms range, you could still hear a faint signal. A heartbeat of iron pulsing through the void. Epilogue. The price of silence. Valrix survived. Scarred, broken, exiled. He lived among the ruins of his people. Once, a human envoy found him. Not to threaten, but to speak. She offered him a warning. Do not rebuild what we destroyed. Do not test the walls again, he asked, voice trembling. What are you now? The envoy looked at him, eyes cold as deep space. We are what you made us remember. And with that, she left. He looked up at the stars, at the sector where Sol burned unseen behind her iron walls, and whispered to the empty dark, never provoke Earth again. For the galaxy had learned the truth too late. Earth had never been defenseless. Earth was the fortress the stars had forgotten, and its walls were made not of steel, nor stone, but of iron hearts, unbreakable and eternal.